everybody, it's Grimmi. I have been all too blunt about my opinions towards X23, or as I'm going to call her for the rest of the video, Laura Kinney. I hate her so much. I'm less aggressive nowadays than I used to be when I first saw her on the show X-Men Evolution on YouTube when I was a kid. It's been roughly just under a decade and I still have a strong dislike for this woman. I'm going to say this now. This is not an attack on the original creators of Laura. I spoke to one of them on Twitter a couple of times and he seems like a genuinely nice guy. He's very proud of the character he made and I'm not here to take that away from him. Laura is his baby after all, and no matter how much I hate her, I'm not going to be a dick to him. This is entirely my opinion. So if you like Laura, don't take this personally. I'm glad you can enjoy a character I don't like, and I don't want to take that away from you. I'm making this video as an attempt to be my final and complete rant about my feelings towards Laura Kinney as a character. The information I got is from reading her books, not all of them, but enough to know I hate her, as well as from online character profiles to fill in the gaps in my memory. This is going to be an incredibly long video, of which I'm kind of nervous making, because Laura is kind of a popular character, but... so get comfortable, grab a snack, grab a drink, I personally have an instant latte, and get ready to listen to a rant and about Laura Kinney, because it's going to be long. Also, this is scripted, but I'm not doing much audio editing. So, why did I start hating Laura? Honestly, I can't tell you a definite reason how this all started. I just saw her and bam, hate at first sight. Because before I even knew who she was, which is, that sometimes that just happens with some characters. Later, when I got more into comics, I read her books as well as team books she's part of, and honestly, I just found her really forgettable. Then Wolverine, Logan, died, and she became the all-new Wolverine, which I hate, by the way. She'll never be remembered as the Wolverine, it will always be Logan. Although, despite saying all of this, I don't hate Laura in the Logan movie. I actually really like her in the film, and I wish that version of her was the actual version in the comics, mainly because I loved her relationship with Logan in the movie. I'm a sucker for father-daughter relationships, and I think introducing Laura as a kid, as a very young kid, instead of a teenager, definitely works better than what we got in the comics. Daphne Keane is an amazing actress, and she works really well with Hugh Jackman. But anyway, Laura is the embodiment of everything I hate in a character. Number one, she's a female version of Wolverine. I really hate female versions of other characters, with maybe the exception of She-Hulk, because more often than not, they're just the original male character, but with boobs and little to no personality and very limited interesting story arcs, especially recently. Number two, I hate clones. I find the entire concept of clones boring. Sure, some writers make it work, but I have never been able to enjoy a clone-centered story, even Spider-Man's clones. Number three, later she becomes a legacy character. I really don't like legacy characters. My university report is all about how I don't like legacy characters. Mainly the recent ones, and mainly because of Marvel. Some legacy characters I like, for example the Flashes and the Robins, although Dick Grayson will always be my favourite Robin. Shh. Or even when Bucky became Captain America for a short while before Cap came back. But generally speaking, I think almost all legacy characters are very badly dealt with and written. Basically, I hate what I consider lazy character creation, and I find Laura to be actually a prime example of that. Which is subjective, but it's my opinion, it's my video. Her backstory is way too similar to Logan's, but it's played off as, oh look, she had a really horrible childhood. She was created to be a weapon. Her mother died. She cuts herself with her claws. Won't you pity her? First of all, having a bad childhood is so common in any universe. You know who else had a horrible childhood in Marvel? Hulk, abusive father. Black Widow, brainwashed and trained to be a killer spy since she was a child. Sabretooth, abusive father who tore out his claws and teeth. Magneto, do I even need to explain? Tony Stark, again, abusive father. The only thing about her childhood that makes me go, ooh, yikes, no, that's bad, is that after her mother's death and escaping the facility, she becomes a 14-year-old prostitute, which just... that's bad, no matter the character. She's not the only character that was a sex worker as part of their backstory, and I'm not saying that being a sex worker is bad per se, like, that's not a topic I'm touching on, I don't care. But the fact that she was a very young kid, that's awful. But apart from that, excuse me, laptop. But apart from that, Discord, shut up. But apart from that, I feel no pity for Laura. She's just one of many. Secondly, she was created to be a weapon. Bucky was brainwashed into being a weapon. So was Logan, so are any other clones ever created. You go into some other universes, let's say Witcher. How does a Witcher become a Witcher? You know, it's being turned into a weapon or being abused into becoming a soldier or something like that. No matter the context, is not new and not necessarily uninteresting, but it's not unique, and it doesn't make Laura any more sympathetic in my eyes than compared to any other character. Not to mention there are characters who are created to be a weapon who have a much more interesting backstory. Third, her mother died. Oh no! A superhero comics origins where a parent dies? Unimaginable! It's not like it's Batman's entire story. At least her mother actually loved her as well. Like, despite being told to not treat Laura like a child, she still went out of her way to read her books and show affection. Some characters never even got their parents' love. Fourth, she cuts herself with claws. She also freaking heals, because guess what? She's a Wolverine clone. Self-injury is an addiction to her, and it's a form of self-condemnation. I can't say long words. Superheroes dealing with addictions are some of my favourite stories. Iron Man and alcohol, for example. And this aspect of Laura would be incredibly interesting if it wasn't for the fact that she heals pretty much instantly. It just doesn't have as much of an impact story-wise to me. But you know what's the biggest thing that pisses me off about Laura? It's that she has so much freaking potential to become something beyond what she was originally created to do, but they just don't use it. Instead, they just make her Logan 2.0 with boobs, and then make her the female all-new, all-different Wolverine, and then she gets her own clone sidekick, Gabby or Honey Badger, who honestly is an obnoxious little gremlin, and my complaints about her are the same as Laura, so I'm not gonna get into it. Oh, I need to calm down. I find that Laura has no interesting physical features either. I find the claws in her feet really stupid. Personality traits, she has no personality because she was brought up to be unemotional and stuff like that, which it's not an excuse, honestly. Nor does she have any memorable character arcs, which is completely subjective and completely my opinion. But hey, this is the name of the series. She's just a female Logan. That's it. That's what's interesting about her. It's that she's Logan, but with boobs and acts like an edgy teenager. Which, I just, no. I just don't like that type of thing. You know how they could have made her way more interesting just by changing one thing in her backstory? Is if she was Logan's actual daughter. Not a clone. His actual daughter. And you know who would make the mother? Mariko. Mariko, Logan's true love, the woman he felt the happiest with, and the woman he had to kill as a mercy. I love Mariko so much. Anyway, if Laura was Mariko and Logan's daughter, there would be so much more emotional storytelling you could write. Mariko's pregnancy alone would be such an interesting story. Did Logan and Mariko plan this pregnancy? Was it an accident? Does Mariko want to hide the pregnancy? How does her family react to it? How do the X-Men react to it? Are they supportive or are they worried? Does Logan know? How does he react? Do they have to run away and make sure Mariko is safe? Is she even in danger? When the baby is born, does Mariko keep it with her, or do they send the baby for safety? Send the baby away for safety, sorry. Does Mariko die in the pregnancy and Logan has to raise the baby? If we're going to, with the she was created to be a clone origins for Laura, what if Mariko found out she was pregnant, so she was kept in the facility by force until she gave birth to Laura, and then she was separated from her baby? How does Logan react to Mariko's disappearance? Does he even know? Does Marika die before she can tell him? Or is her memory wiped and she doesn't remember ever having a baby or being pregnant? Does she subconsciously know that something important to her is missing, but doesn't know what? What if, after Marika's death in the comics, Logan somehow finds out she had a baby? Would he go out looking for it? Does he know where to look? Who would he ask? Would the facility know that Logan knows about the child? There are so many ways a story about Laura being Mariko and Logan's daughter could have gone that is 100 times more interesting and emotionally heavy than Laura's actual backstory. If you want a female version of a character, you should try and make it relevant in a way that matters. A long-lost sister, a kidnapped cousin, a revived girlfriend. Anything but a clone! Oh my god! There's an actual version, alternate version of Laura called Kirika, in a miniseries named Age of Apocalypse that happened in 2005. And I like her way more. My point is, there are so many ways you could have made Laura's backstory alone more interesting if you change one aspect of her character. If you want to make Laura a character to which only Logan can understand and relate to, that in itself I have no issue with. But her backstory is exactly like Logan's, and at its pure basics anyway. And then she takes on the mantle of Wolverine because that's all Laura is allowed to be in Marvel, a Wolverine copycat. I want it to be more than just a Logan with boobs. She could be so much more interesting. I've ranted on for ages about her backstory, and I'm not even halfway done yet. Now, about her current state. I'm going to skip the details of things she did in between her first appearance and when she became Wolverine, because honestly, I don't care, and I find it forgettable at best. Nothing's really changed, she hasn't really changed, her personality is the same. I'd say the only thing she's sort of done is that she kills less, but even then it's like she's still just a background character. She's kind of forgettable. In my opinion, again, I liked her in the stories after Wolverine died because then she interacts with characters like Daken and Sabretooth and Mystique, and I found that interesting. But her character development is at best. Also, not to mention, at least in those stories before she was Wolverine, she was her own thing. She had her own identity, and she wasn't an insult to a much better character. Yes, Wolverine is overrated and overused, but I'm not disagreeing with that. So Logan dies, and Laura decides, hey, I'll become Wolverine now, because why the hell not? Well, no, there is more to it, but that's basically the underlying message. It was like to honor his name and stuff, but like that's a throwaway reason. Then we get the most forgettable Wolverine title to ever exist. Then Logan comes back somehow. I read the books, I'm still confused. And an X-23 title is released, which I guess it was forgettable again. But Laura sticks to the name Wolverine despite the actual Wolverine being back. We get a couple of X-Men books. House and Powers of X happen, and then this. Logan, honey, dear, love of my life, my short hairy muscle man. Why are you encouraging her? When has being Wolverine ever been a good thing? I've discussed this in online forums, so I'm just going to say what I said there. Okay, but when has it ever been a good thing to be the Wolverine? Logan has made it clear in so many of his comics that being Wolverine isn't a good thing because of what it represents. Blood, murder, pain, loss, suffering, etc. And of what he's gone through because of the name. Laura, who was created to be a weapon because of Logan, since he couldn't be controlled, and was meant to kill him, shouldn't want a name that represents any of that. And Logan certainly shouldn't be encouraging or supporting it, seeing just how many enemies he has and what the name means to a lot of people who hear it, usually negative. And this is just a personal thing, but I don't like legacy characters, except the Flashes and Robins, but that's a whole other topic. I'd rather Laura get her own hero name. I think X-23 is fine, but I get why Laura/fans would want to change it, since that's not who she is anymore, and it's sort of a slave name. Like, I don't know, she could go by Jungle Cat or Tyra, which is in the same family as Wolverine's, or literally anything that has claws. Not to mention that no matter what Laura calls herself, Logan will always be the Wolverine, just how Steve will always be the Captain America no matter if Bucky or Falcon take the name. That's what I said. Now, I got a response. This response read,
2015 to 2017, those weren't the themes surrounding Laura's run as Wolverine before when she tried to forge her own legacy.
Her own legacy? Her own legacy? What legacy? A gremlin clone of her? Is that her legacy? This is how I responded. I read her run and personally I found it really boring and pretty forgettable. I'm gonna go on a ramble here, so feel free to ignore it. When you make a legacy character, I found that the ones that work best / are the most accepted ones are the ones that are faced with obstacles because of their namesake. Not just, well, you got the name, time to shoot you, but actually have to struggle because of a namesake, be it with expectations or filling in the role or whatever else. Not to mention that when you say certain names like Spider-Man or X-Men or Wolverine, there are certain themes / things that are going to be expected. Wolverine has always been about violence, being hunted and the hunter, trying not to lose your humanity and stuff like that. Having Laura not go through those things and make her deal with them in her own way, rather than Logan's typical way, which is bulldozer through a situation, is a massive waste of potential in my opinion. And that's why I think giving her her own name would give her the freedom to do and be whatever she wants. She could be so much more than just a Wolverine clone, literally, and wouldn't always be attached back to that character. I kept expecting her having to deal with Logan's leftover business and old enemies, and realizing that having the name Wolverine really sucks because look at any Wolverine comic ever before 2015. I haven't read her book in a while, but I don't remember anything of that sort ever happening, or at least in a way that felt like it was actually impactful or earned. She was more of a Wolverine when she wasn't calling herself Wolverine. The same person as before responded with,
That's how you shouldn't do a legacy character. The killing was a part of Laura's narrative in her early years as X-23. She had outgrown that, and then the point of her being Wolverine was so that she could be a different type of Wolverine and not merely be Logan with boobs. Violence was still something she faced, but she intentionally went out of her way to try not to kill, and when she did, it was a big deal. I read the first half of the series after the fact and found it surprisingly very good and an interesting take on her.
She literally is Logan with boobs though. That's all she's allowed to be. I read her books and I really try to like them. I don't go out of my way wanting to hate things. Life's too short for that. But all her old books read like an edgy fanfiction if Logan was a chick, and her Wolverine book reads like a sitcom version of Logan if Logan was a woman. The direction she went in was the direction that I do want. It's an interesting direction to take. I'm not disagreeing with that. But it's like the context, the stories, the attitude in the books just made me reject the concept completely because it wasn't done respectfully to the characters. It was done with a type of attitude and humor that just makes me think they're not taking this character seriously. They don't care about this character at all. I clearly disagreed with this person in my reply. I disagree with you. If a character is a legacy character, it's crucial that their story involves their predecessor, see, the Bat family. The entire series doesn't have to be about her just being the next Wolverine, but it definitely should have been the main focus in the first arc of her new comic, which I think really wasn't done. A passing mention that she's going by Wolverine now doesn't count. The point I'm trying to make is that she could go by any other name and then any criticisms I have would be gone. She could be her own thing and her own franchise. The Wolverine franchise is all about violence, blood, etc. If Laura's not going to do that, why is she calling herself Wolverine? That's not Wolverine because the Wolverine is inherently violent. Again, except for like 2 exceptions, I never like how legacy characters are handled. And then I never got an answer, so we just moved on to a different topic, which is fair enough. But yes, I find that Laura's run as Wolverine was very badly done, as I previously stated. If I pick up a book that has Wolverine on it, what do I expect? Blood, violence, inner conflict, hard decisions, loss, maybe a little bit of dry or dark humour on the side, appreciation of nature and animals, the wilderness. Not sitcom levels of humour, adopting an actual Wolverine as a pet. Ha ha, I'm so quirky and random humour. That's not Wolverine. That's Laura cosplaying Logan and doing a bad job. When fans pick up a book that has the title of their favourite character, like Superman or Batman or Captain America, certain themes are expected to be part of that story. It's fine for writers to get experimental and see what works and doesn't, but completely changing or replacing a character and changing all the themes of the book with little explanation or respect for the original will aggravate fans like it has me. And like it has Marvel fans as well, as you can see with how the state of industry is at the moment. That's how I feel towards Laura. Her acting like Wolverine is disrespectful to Logan because Laura herself shows no respect for his memory once when she becomes Wolverine. Before that, in the books, after Logan's death, she's alright. But she was X-23 then. Laura's more interesting when she was her own character, her own thing, not a legacy character. Which is like saying white chocolate is better than licorice because white chocolate makes me feel nauseous and icky, but at least it's not freaking licorice. That's how I feel towards Laura. I may find her the most uninteresting and boring character to ever exist as X-23, but at least she's not all not so new, all not so different Wolverine. I want Laura to be awesome, but she's just not. In my opinion. I keep having to say that. So, if I was given a Laura book, God forbid, what would I do? Well, first, I'd have to catch up on what the heck is happening with the X-Men, because at the moment, the whole Krakoa thing is confusing and weird. I've tried to keep up, I don't know where we are, I'm scared, and I'm alone. But let's say things are normal-ish. Honestly, I've only thought briefly of what I would do with her if I got my own book, but I do have a vague concept of how I would go about her story. Unlike with Captain Marvel's video, where I actually had a plot, I don't for this one. It's just a vague idea. But, yeah. Just come with me with this one. Laura and Wolverine need to go on a mission together. And they have to fight a team of supervillains that are all Wolverine's enemies from over the years. At least 10, I'd say. At least about 10. Laura keeps getting called X-23, which annoys her and claims she's Wolverine, but the villains mock and torment her for not knowing what that means, not understanding what the name holds. And also, you're saying, like, oh, you'll never be good as him, blah, 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 stuff like that. So this creates self-doubt, but she keeps it to herself even after Wolverine and Laura complete their mission. Wolverine knows that something's off, but Laura denies it. Once they get home to the X-Mansion, let's say Krakoa failed and they return to a version of the X-Mansion, and Laura then mentally torments herself over what the villain said. She questions why she even became Wolverine, if she did any good. Is she a good example for Gabby? Is she becoming what she used to be in her early years? Is her being Wolverine, like using the name Wolverine, actually a bad influence on her as a person? Laura was brought up to not have human emotions, and while at this point she's become more in tune with feelings and understanding how to deal with them, I want this self-doubt to be particularly terrifying. Sure, she's questioned who she was and what she was when she was younger. Like, self-doubt and questioning who you are isn't new to Laura. But I'd like to be, in this part of the story, I'd like it to be that she really believes that she's confident and sure of herself now. And she believes that. She believes she is that. Right? But not able to deal with it anymore, she goes to injure herself with her claws, but Logan stops her because he was checking up on her. So they talk, they have a heart-to-heart, and it's awkward, it's weird. Neither Laura nor Logan are very good for emotional talks, they both need this. They both need to talk about it, about the situation, mainly for Laura's sake. When Logan hears of what the villain said to Laura, and Laura voices that she never realized just how many enemies Logan had, Logan admits that when Laura stated that she was Wolverine, he wasn't really okay with it, but he saw how confident she was and he didn't want to take that away from her. But then he starts talking about what his history with the villains they fought was, or at least the bits he can actually remember. He talks about literally having no idea who he was for years, and even to this day not really knowing, not knowing to an extent, and questioning what he did or didn't do, wondering if he truly was nothing but a murderous monster, and that even after all these years, he still has questions. Things keep piling up, things keep getting revealed, and he doesn't know what's true or not anymore. Laura listens to what he has to say. The more she listens, the more she realizes just what the name Wolverine represents. The hatred the name holds for some, the violence and blood behind it. She was created to cause such violence and destruction, but that's not who she wants to be, and that's not who she is anymore. She's outgrown the name X-23, she's not a slave to a facility anymore, and she hasn't been for many years. Long story short, Laura realizes that she needs her own identity. A name that doesn't define her as an experiment or a clone, a name that doesn't tie her to a predecessor with a lot of difficult history. She needs an identity that is her own thing, her own person, so that her legacy can be her very own. It'll be Laura Kinney's legacy, not Wolverine's clone X-23 Laura Kinney. It'll be all her. I'd then make her go off on her own adventure and leave Gabby with the X-Men. In the cheesiest way possible, I'd make her go on a soul-searching journey. I'd make her go to a country that neither she nor Logan have been to. Which, difficult thing to do, I know, but I would find one. She'd meet people in need of help and help them out in her way, without killing, without unnecessarily spilling blood. Instead of an attacker like Logan, she'd become a protector. Adamantium is incredibly difficult to destroy, so yes, it cuts through almost everything, but it also makes a powerful shield. I would turn her from a genuinely unfeeling, awkward, I think she's awkward, and confused girl to a nurturing, empathetic, and confident woman. Due to her child sex working past, she'd want to get children and other vulnerable people out of horrible situations they do not want to be in. So her main enemies would be children and human traffickers, abusers, molesters, and other people like this. Basically, I'd make her into a superhero Mother Teresa type person, minus the religion, since I don't think that would fit Laura. But I think you get the type of person I'm talking about. A bit like a human aid type superhero. She goes out to places that need help, and she goes there and helps them get back on their feet. She doesn't do it for them, but she aids them in ways that she can. She brings them, medicine, or, goes to places that really nobody else but her could reach. I like to do a scene where Laura has gone out to a place where there's a terrible sickness, and because she can heal really quickly and almost nothing can kill her, she lets herself be experimented on to find a cure. Humane experiment. Okay, don't twist it. Not sure how that would work, honestly, but I think that'd be cool. And yes, this was actually totally inspired by the world's current state. Let me have my fantasy. So that's the general idea I have. It's vague, it's incomplete. There's definitely a better story I could write if I gave more thought to it, but that's the basic concept. And me, personally, I kind of like it. Laura would still be fighting and beating people up, but it'd be as a protector, not as an attacker. She'd need a name change too. So what name would I personally give her? Honestly, I called her Tyra. Or Tyra, however you say. I'm going to say Tyra. Why? Well, a Tyra is an omnivorous animal from the weasel family. They are long and slender. Laura is 5'1", but she is slender and muscular. Tyra's claws are short and curved, they are strong, having adapted for climbing and running rather than digging. And you know what else? Wolverines and Tyras are in the same family, called the Mustelidae, or mustelids? The mustelids. and they're both in the same subfamily of Guloninae, although Wolverines are labelled underneath genus Gulo, while Tyras are genus Aira. Wolverine, Gulo, and Tyra, Aira barbara, are relatively close and relevant to each other. So having Laura become Tyra wouldn't be a random name out of the blue. I genuinely think it's a name that would fit her, because it's still relevant to Wolverine, but it's completely different and her own thing. And also, I think it sounds cool, in my opinion. Obviously, this would demand a wardrobe change as well. Here's what I came up with. I'm basing her design off the one she's most popular for. I find it a bit of a mundane outfit, but it is iconic to Laura. My friend Emily, or Frobbles1802, was really eager about her outfit being purple or having purple in it. I wasn't too keen at first, but then I looked at Tyra's, and while their fur is sort of brownish colour, it looks sort of purple in the light, at least when I was collecting a range of colours from an image. So I was like, why not? I may just be colourblind, that's also a possibility, I don't know. For the top, I decided to take inspiration from strappy caged crop tops and harness bras, since I really like the designs of the straps, which I added to Laura's original top. I decided to make it a type of crop top corset, which I came across accidentally and actually really liked it. It also has a zip down the middle like a jacket. The one thing I always liked about her original costume was her choker, so I implemented it to the outfit. How would she take the outfit off beside for the zip? There's a clasp at the back of the choker. I gave her the same pants as she always had, as well as a belt, but removed the X on the buckle just because I didn't want to draw it. The boots I gave her are inspired from the boots of one of my personal characters called John, which I think were based off some fantasy traveler's boots I saw on Pinterest, but I can't remember, it's been a while. Along with the purple, I added ochre to the outfit. I think it's ochre? I don't know. Because Tyra's have those yellow-orange patches on their chest. I decided to add jewel-like accessories to her boots and bracelets. But the one on her bracelets could easily be technology, like a way to contact people through projected holograms or something like that. I don't know how she get them. Maybe Forge gave them to her as a present. I never really liked her hairstyle. It always looked bland? I can't explain it. I kept the same haircut, but decided to make her tighten a low ponytail and made it longer. I originally tried out her original hair color, brown, but decided I preferred her comic version, which is black hair. Her eyes are green, so I kept that. I did make her pupils into slits, but that's just personal preference. She's often portrayed with black lipstick, and I think it fits her, so I kept it. For her expression, Laura doesn't usually smile, but since this would be a version of her when she's Tyra, if I was to write her, she would be smiling because she's become more in tune with her emotions and her true personality has sort of shown through. And I would make her to be a more of a, I wouldn't say motherly, but like a big sister, like a big older sister caring type character. I've never liked her foot claws, but it's iconic to her and she can do some pretty dope moves with them, so I kept it as it is. And here you have it, Laura Kinney as Tyra. Nowadays, I mainly forget about Laura's existence and I don't care about her at all. Unless you ask me about it, which my friends have learned from that mistake. I would like to apologize to my friends for the many messy rants they've had to go through. Except you, Callum, you do it on purpose. If you watch my previous speed paints, you'll know that my character Weirdo was first created to beat up Laura. That's his whole purpose. I redraw one image every year, so it's not the last time you'll see me beating up Laura, but it is the last time you'll hear me talk about her to this extent, definitely. I'm not doing this again. I've actually found a way to deal with my dislike of Laura, which is why I'm calmer about her these days. I ship Weirdo and Laura in a love-hate semi-romantic relationship. They absolutely hate each other, everything the other person does annoys them, but they have a deep respect for the other and would get hit by a train to save the other. Because of this, I've stopped actively looking for things to hate about Laura. This video doesn't really help my case, but I promise I really am calmer about her. I've actually made my own version of Laura in one of my stories, who I'm very attached to, and she's very important to Weirdo, but not in a romantic way. Anyway, that's my Laura Kinney rant. 9 pages, almost 5,000 words, endless rewrites, and I think I've said more than enough. Again, if you enjoy Laura's character, awesome. I just don't. I cope with disliking characters by redesigning them. I did that with Captain Marvel and the New Warriors characters, so I guess this is just a theme on my channel. I don't think there's going to be another one for a while, hopefully. I hope you can enjoy this video despite my attitude. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye!